Mataas ang pagtingin sa mga dugong bughaw tulad ng Windsor family ng Britanya. Yan po ang pamilya ni Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Charles, at siyempre si Prince William. Pero gaano nga ba kahalaga ang papel ng pamilyang kabibilangan na rin ni Kate Middleton? Para pag-usapan yan, kasama natin ngayon si Mr. Leslie Stokes, Officer of the Order of the British Empire. Good morning, Mr. Stokes.
Morning.
Welcome to News to Go.
Thank you.
There's this global excitement now about this wedding that's going to happen in your country. Are you surprised about all the excitement, even here in the Philippines?
I think I'm more surprised at the way it's grown. I mean, they're talking about a 2 billion audience around the world. I think it's very good that it's showing that the monarchy is moving into the 21st century, and a lot of people are beginning to identify with it. And I think it's wonderful that it's here in the Philippines, because obviously you're not a monarchy, and I think that's saying a lot of things for everybody here, the way that it's growing.
How would you explain the appeal of the royal family, the royal wedding in this day and age?
Well, there's still the fairy tale element, as there was in 1981 when Charles married Diana. And I think now these two represent very much the 21st century. Kate Middleton is a commoner. She has no royal background. He's a working prince because he's in the RAF, and they met at university.
Which is the Royal Air Force.
Yeah, they met at university. They were normal students. They've led as best they can a more normal life, and I think the young people of today can identify with both of them.
So this is far from being an arranged marriage.
Oh, not at all.
They really fell in love, and
yeah, no, there's no arrangement here.
So you are a officer of the Order of the British Empire. Can you just briefly explain what that is? I mean, I know that British society has all these ranks that are bestowed by the monarchy itself.
Yes, the Order of the British Empire was actually started by Edward, Queen Victoria's son, to recognise British service to the country. And they set up a group, a member of the British Empire, which is the lowest level, officer of the order, which is what I have, commander, which is a CBE, and a knight commander, which is when you become sir and you're knighted. So,
and all these are earned, they're not just...
Yes, what happens is that they are recommended to the government and the Cabinet Office, and then there's a vetting process, which, as I understand now, is about 6 stages. If you get through all of those 6 stages, it then goes to the Cabinet Office for approval, the Prime Minister, and then they ring you and say, will you accept it? You've been awarded it. And once you say yes, it goes to the Queen for approval, and then as a British citizen like me, you can go to Buckingham Palace and get it. But you can be awarded it as a non-British citizen. There is an OBE Filipino here with an OBE. But normally their award would be given by the ambassador in the country.
And any privileges for someone like yourself? An officer of the Order of the British Empire?
There are a few. The unique one for an officer and above, not a member, is, for some unknown reason, your daughters can get married in Westminster Abbey, which is where the marriage will take place on Friday. I have 2 daughters, so both my daughters officially are allowed, I can apply to have them married in Westminster Abbey.
So, any plans?
I have to talk to my bank manager because it's quite expensive, and I think there won't be any offers of discount. But I am entitled.
Okay, well, I hope your daughters don't put a lot of pressure on you to...
They're going to Westminster Abbey in 3 weeks' time to have a look. I think then that's when the pressure will really come. Yes.
Okay, back to the royal couple-to-be. Kate Middleton is a commoner.
Yes.
She's marrying into the royal family. She will be addressed as what after she gets married?
She will become Princess Catherine. And
Catherine?
Yes.
No longer Princess Kate, then?
No, well, Kate, of course, is K-A-T. Her real name is Catherine with a C. So she'll become Princess Catherine. They're talking about officially that she will be Princess of Wales eventually, but at the moment she'll be Prince William's wife. Now, when he becomes king, which is next in line after Charles, his father, she will become Queen Catherine.
So she will become Queen Catherine.
Yes.
Is it common for an in-law to become a king or queen? Well,
the way the system works, I mean, the King George VI, that's the Queen's father, who died in 1952. Obviously, the Queen Elizabeth became Queen Mother, who became the Queen Mother. But when Queen Elizabeth II became Queen in 1953, her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, did not become king. It follows the male line. But because, obviously, Diana and Charles had 2 sons, and William is the eldest, then his wife will become queen.
So in British society, I just want to clarify, the monarchy does not hold any more political power. That's now in the prime minister and the parliament, as opposed to decades or centuries ago when they actually led armies. So what is the relevance now of the British monarchy in your society?
Yeah, the monarchy is symbolic, and I mean, it doesn't hold political power. The prime minister holds political power. The only political power the Queen holds is that she can dissolve Parliament. She has the authority to do that. But that has to really be coming from either the opposition or the government for any major crisis. She also is the person who announces the government's policy, whichever government is in power. She is the one who makes the Queen's speech in the Houses of Parliament, but she's reading the speech which has been written for her by the government.
Mm-hmm. So, there are monarchies elsewhere in Europe, but when they get married, there's no such hoopla. I mean, we sent a camera crew there with, hosts, anchors. How would you explain the popularity of this particular monarchy today?
Well, I think it's partly historical, the line that has come through the Habsburg Empire. I think the other thing is that, of course, we have a big advantage that we speak the most common language in the world, English, and it's a lot easier than, say, in Denmark or Sweden. And the royal family in Britain has been the longest serving, and we now have, of course, the longest serving monarch as well in the Queen, because she was 85 last week, and she's been on the throne for so long. She'll be coming on, for over 60 years on the throne, so it's fantastic.
Well, Prince William's parents, Prince Charles and Lady Di, had what you would call politely a colorful married life. Some would call it dysfunctional. Did this affect the popularity of the royal family through the years?
Yes, I think, there's been troughs for the monarchy. I think the biggest trough was probably, which none of us remember, was in 1936 when Edward, King George's elder brother, became king and then married an American divorcee, and he was not allowed to stay as king. He had to abdicate, and King George came. Then we got through that, and then the Queen became queen in 1952 in 53 because the king died quite young of cancer in 1952, and she's still there. So she stabilized it, but then the 4 children of the Queen, 3 of them have been divorced, Charles, Anne, and Andrew. So we've gone into a second trough, which deepened when it became very obvious to the world public that Charles and Diana was a dysfunctional marriage. And then the famous statement of Diana into the world media, there are 3 people in the marriage, just before she was killed in the car crash, didn't help. And of course then it all came out that Charles really, the real love of his life had been Camilla Parker Bowles, who of course had got married and had children and is divorced now. And so she is now, the Queen consort, if you like. So if Charles becomes king, there is still a big question mark about whether she will be made Queen Camilla. The family has moved on, but there's still
so they're legally married now. Charles
they're legally married.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a widow. Obviously, Diana died, and she is divorced. And in theory, she could become Queen Camilla, but there's a big backlash of what happened with Diana and all the story, and there is a big doubt as to whether the British public fully could accept that. But in the case of William and Catherine, there is no question. If when he becomes king, she will become Queen Catherine. No question.
Okay. So the British society has pretty high expectations of the royal family's conduct, at least marital conduct. I mean, they're like an ordinary family. They go through divorce, they have affairs, and yet when these are considered big scandals throughout the British society.
So. And I think that's why there's such a worldwide attention for this marriage, because purely and simply, she's a commoner. She has no royal background or lineage. He is the eldest son of Diana, which of course she was the fairy tale princess, and this is the marriage of the 20th century, which may take the monarchy into the real homes of people and the younger people.
You were telling me earlier that not everyone agrees with the monarchy or likes the monarchy. You're talking about some British citizens or people overseas, Australians, people in the Commonwealth. Why do they not like the British monarchy?
I think it's not a question of like. I think, let's take Australia. Australia, they're not British immigrants, which make up most of Australia in the 50s. they are now a multicultural society, and a lot of people who've come from the Middle East, from Eastern Europe, have no knowledge of the Queen or no real empathy with the Queen and the royal family. Although, interestingly enough, New Zealand will stick with the monarchy, as will Canada. But there is a Republican movement in Australia. In the UK, there is a small Republican movement, but there is no way, unless there's a major scandal coming forward, that the monarchy will not survive, at least for, I think, the next 50, 60 years, at least through William becoming king.
And not many complain that they're supported by British taxes.
Well, there are people like that, but the actual civil list, which is the money that is given to the royal family for services to duty, is very limited now. It only goes to about 5 or 6 levels of under the Queen. The rest have to work for their money and earn money.
Final question, how will you watch the royal wedding? Where will you watch it?
The British ambassador is hosting the Queen's birthday, her real birthday was last Maundy Thursday. She was 85. So there's always a Queen's birthday garden party at the ambassador's residence in Forbes. But this year, because it's a public holiday on Friday and the royal wedding, he's combined the two. So I will be at the ambassador's residence watching it on the big screen, and we'll be seeing it there. And then I'm flying to London. The family are flying to London on Sunday, May Day, and I'm taking my daughters to see where they could get married, but probably won't, at Westminster Abbey. And I'm taking them to Buckingham Palace because I've got to see where their daddy went to get his OBE. So very special trip, but that'll be later in May.
Sounds like fun.
Oh, a lot of fun. They're very excited.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Stokes.
Howie. Pleasure. Thank you.